मोर लेखक बंधुगण आमे चंद्रभागा कविता महोत्सव उद्घाटन करने जाऊँ। मु समस्त बाहर थिबा बंधु मान को अनुरोध करुच्ची समस्ते कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल भीतर को आसंतु एवं रजिस्ट्रेशन काम सारिबा संगे संगे समस्ते बसंतु। आज यही जो शीत सकाळे आमे आरंभ करने प्राय 10 मिनिट डेरी कर देइचु, सेथिपई आमे दुखित। तबे आ विलंब न करी आमे एई हमर प्रथम अधिवेशन आरंभ करने जाऊँ। प्रथम अधिवेशन समय थिला 10 ରୁ 11:30। एटा होछि हमर उद्घाटनी अधिवेशन। एथिरे मुख्य पेपर दबार थिला के सचिदानंदनकर कंटेम्पोरारी इंडियन पोएट्री, किंतु सी आसी पारि नांती। तांकर पेपर पठेइचंती जहाँ को प्रेजेंट करिवे आम भितर उपस्थित थिबा डॉक्टर राजकुमार जे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी अच्छी से पेपरटा प्रेजेंट करिवे। मु वर्तमान अनुरोध करुच्ची जे आमर आजिकार उद्घाटन करने आम अनुरोध करूँ देवी प्रसन्न पट्टनायक को, विशिष्ट भाषातत्वविद एवं लेखक। तो मु अनुरोध करी जे देवी प्रसन्न पट्टनायक आसवे एवं आजिकार कविता उत्सव को उद्घाटन करेंगे। तो वर्तमान मैं अनुरोध करुच्ची डॉक्टर राजकुमार से मध्य चेयर को आसतु। तो वर्तमान मैं अनुरोध करी डॉक्टर मनोरंजन महांती से स्वागत अभिभाषण देवे। डॉक्टर मनोरंजन महांती।
नमस्कार। Welcome to Chandrabhaga Poetry Festival 2015. मो ओडिया और इंग्रेजी मिसेक कहबी कारण आम भितर अण ओडिया किसी बंधु अच्छा। प्राय वर्षे उपर हो गलानी यही प्रचेषा विषय आम के जन भावुलु। It has taken more than a year, in fact several years, because we have a special session on Brajnath Ratha tomorrow, the famous poet who passed away last May. He was also involved in the planning of this event. And I must tell you, it actually fructified last year in February when me and Vidyut, my wife, she will join us tomorrow morning. We were in Pondicherry, and Professor Murali Sivaramakrishnan, he is a well-known poet, critic, English professor there. So in a chance conversation, I was a sociology department guest. In a chance conversation, he mentioned that Jayanta Mahapatra was going to be his guest, the university's guest, the next Monday. And there would be a national workshop on the poetry of Jayanta Mahapatra. I said, look, some of us have been planning to have a poetry festival and located in Konark, a festival of a different type, a festival that celebrates imagination of a beautiful planet, a just world, an egalitarian society, a society of deep sense of aesthetics and love and dignity for every being. So we want to have a poetry festival. So he was very excited. And I said, if you and Jayanta Mahapatra support the idea, we will go ahead. Because I have talked to a few others, including Brajnath Ratha and Vijay Upadhyaya. You can see the most active person who has been contacting you. And next week, Jayanta Mahapatra was the guest of Pondicherry University, and the week after I get a letter saying that both of them are behind our proposal and they like the idea. So I am absolutely delighted that this is taking place. Some 2 or 3 years ago, we had a special event celebrating Vasudev Sunani's poetry in Delhi, and so I went back to him, and Rajkumar, his commentator, and my colleague in Delhi University, professor of English. So they liked the idea, and then came the clinching conversation. Chandrabhanu Patnaik and I were talking about a university lecture program, and so I mentioned it to him, and he said he had just organized a South Asia Poetry Festival in Delhi. I said, can you take it up? And rest you all know that. So it is Jayanta Mahapatra, Murali Sivaramakrishna, the late Rajanath Ratha, Vijay Upadhyay, Chandrabhanu Patnaik, and then my friend, colleague Savita Singh, famous Hindi poet. He and I have together worked in Delhi University in many such things. Then we were just remembering, Savita and I, that 20 years ago in the Developing Countries Research Center, Delhi University, we started 2 lecture series alternately. One is Pablo Neruda lecture series, and the other is Oliver Tambo lecture. Pablo Neruda lecture is on literature and culture, and Oliver Tambo lecture is on social science, both on third world themes. And the first Pablo Neruda lecture was delivered by Shishir Kumar Das on the concept of a people's poet, on Pablo Neruda and similar phenomena. And there are so many poets here, so I want to connect with the history that as poetry lovers and writers, many of us relate to this mission. And some are with us, some are not able to attend, and some are no more. Rajanath Ratha and Shishir Kumar Das are no more. And Murali Sivaramakrishna couldn't come, and he has written such emotional letters that he's not able to attend because his wife, who was to present a critical paper on Jayanta Mahapatra, I mean, she has written on Jayanta Mahapatra's poetry. She is very ill in the hospital, and he was prepared to have a Skype presentation also, if we could arrange that. But that's another story. So Murali Sivaramakrishna is not able to come, but we'll read his poems. So friends, we are grateful to the poets, the friends who have made it possible, and the Centurion University of Technology and Management. You see, we needed one local organization which is acceptable to us, which will appreciate this mission and will help materially. We didn't want corporate or state sponsorship, at least for now, because we wanted to set the agenda on our own. So we are grateful to Centurion University and Chandrabhanu's Institute, the UNESCO-sponsored Institute of Global Knowledge, for supporting this, and they are involved very deeply in the mission. Therefore, we hope this will be a regular festival. And my China scholar friend, Gilham Faber, famous China political economy expert, very late in my friendship with him, I discovered that he was also a French poet. And so when I said that, look, we have no money, and he has translated, he has not only several French poetry books, original, but translated Chinese poetry also. And later on you will see a poetry that I had selected to read from Chinese. He has actually translated the whole book of poetry, the June 4th poetry. He is carrying that. We will present that at the end of the day. Then, so I'm grateful to Gilham. He represents the rest of the world. So, and above all, one of our gurus and inspirations. I just a few days ago, I said, in our framework, who fits, who appreciates our mission, and intellectually and in a literal field fits to inspire us by his inaugural presence and chairing the first session. In many things, we go back to Devi Prasanna Patnaik to inspire us, whether it is Odisha Gaveshana Chakra or now the Chandrabhaga Poetry Festival. The name Chandrabhaga Poetry Festival was suggested by Murali and Jayanta Mahapatra, because Chandrabhaga, the English journal, is well known all over the world, the quarterly journal. In recent years it has become irregular, but we will encourage Jayanta Babu to revive and make it regular. We will be behind him. It captured everybody's imagination immediately, because Chandrabhaga, the river, the cultural, the myths, the stories, the annual festival, which is on the 26th of this month, Chandrabhaga Buddha, all these things are symbolic. Chandrabhaga is a metaphor for everything that we stand for. Goodness, depth, equality, liberation, vision, beauty, flow, dynamism, transformation. So Chandrabhaga is a metaphor. And we carry that flow in history into the future. So with these words, and slowly we will know each other. We have so many famous poets, and they will introduce themselves. So with these words, I very warmly welcome all of you, and we begin the proceedings with great hope, mutual confidence, and looking into the future. Thank you very much. So there is a suggestion that we make a self-introduction in not more than 1 minute. I will start with myself. Manoranjan Mahanti, Delhi University. I taught in Political Science Department for 40 years. Member of People's Union for Democratic Rights, Delhi. Now with Council for Social Development as a visiting professor. Gaveshana Chakra, Odisha Gaveshana Chakra. We started 25 years ago. I think that should be all for me. Odisha Daridra Kahinki is my Odia book with, with Vijay Vaida. We are co-authors of that book.
Devi Prasanna Patnaik. I taught for 11 years at Santiniketan, Odia Literature and Language. 5 years as Chief Linguist of the American Institute of Indian Studies at Pune, and 20 years worked in the Government of India as the founder director of the Central Institute of Indian Languages, and retired as an additional secretary to the HRD Ministry, Government of India. This is the bureaucratic part of it. My last 2 volumes have been, the title of which is Language and Cultural Diversity, 1500 pages, published by Orient Black Swan, released by the President of India 3 months back.
Namaskar, I am Raj Kumar, Delhi University, Department of English Professor. I am the Professor of English Literature in the Department of English, Delhi University. I come from Kalahandi, undivided Kalahandi, but now Nuapada. That's all perhaps.
2 distinct identities, one as teacher, professor, been teaching in Delhi University for quite some time, then I've shifted to IGNOU, I've set up a School of Gender and Development Studies, I went there as its first dean and director. Now I'm still there. Then academic writings I've been doing mostly in the field of political theory and feminist thought. I've worked on Indian modernity, many faces of Indian feminism, and so on and so forth, on political theory, introduction to political theory kind of thing. And then side by side I have written poetry and short stories in Hindi. I wrote in English as well, but I decided finally to be a Hindi poet. And then I've written quite a lot in Hindi. So today my identity as a Hindi feminist poet is secure. And as a result of which I'm here with all of you celebrating political theory and feminist thought through verse. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, by the way.
Namaskar. I am Pritidhara Samal from Koraput. I teach Odia literature in a college there, government college. And I like reading, writing, literature. Thank you.
I am Sukna Misra from Bhubaneswar. I am a writer and that is my identity.
Namaskar to all. I am Kanak Lata Mohankur, come from Navarampur, and my profession is a primary teacher, which is situated in Boriguma block of Koraput. Name of the school is Auli ME School, and my hobby is to write poetry, short story, etc. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Myself, Dr. Dinabandhu Sahu. I am a physician by profession, working as a medicine specialist in the district headquarters hospital, Bhavanipatna, district Kalahandi. I used to write poems, stories, and paint also. I used to act also, and I'm really truly privileged to be here and meet such eminent personalities, all of us present here. Thank you.
Myself, Pavitra Mohandas. I teach English in a degree college in Pune district. I write poems and criticism. I have 4 volumes of poetry collections and a collection of critical essays in Odia. And I have also written a novel that is yet to be published. Thank you.
Myself, Saroj, involved with the farmers movement and anti-displacement movement, writing poetry and essays from Sambalpur.
I am actually an activist, basically, working in the tribals of Koraput and Malkangiri, now staying in Malkangiri. And I am a poet involved with Ganamukti Lekhak Shilpi Samukhya Progressive Writers Movement in 1980s. And now, actually, by this organization, I feel that revival of that movement, if it can be done to a certain extent, it will be the best for the interest of the Odisha writers. That's all.
I started this magazine called Chandrabhaga because I was fascinated with Chandrabhaga since my birth. I don't know why. Because there was so much of life in Chandrabhaga, so much of depth in Chandrabhaga. And that is why Chandrabhaga fascinates me still now. And I'm so glad that some of us, my young friend Manoranjan, has taken up the cue and started the Chandrabhaga Poetry Festival. So to all of you, I give my heartiest good wishes for your life and for the success of this festival in the future. Thank you.
I am Asutosh Parida. I worked as a scientist at Regional Research Laboratory, Bhubaneswar. Now it is named as IMMT. and I have retired from service. And I write poetry. I have got 10 anthologies of poems published, and then one book of essays on Marxist criticism is published also in Oriya, and that's all.
Good morning all. I'm Vasudev Sunani. By profession I am a veterinarian, and now I am acting as a deputy director in state government Odisha, and I have 7 poetry collections, and I have also written one research book, that is Dalit Cultural History, and also I have edited one Odia Dalit literature book. I have also compiled a biography on Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, that has been published by NBT, and thank you.
My name is Guilhem Fabre. I am a China scholar teaching at the University of Le Havre in France and member of the China Center at the High School of Social Sciences in Paris. And
School meaning Advanced Institute.
Advanced Institute of Social Sciences is in Paris. And I've been writing poetry for 30 years and translating also classical Chinese poets and modern Chinese poets such as Liu Xiaobo and Liu Hongbing.
Namaskar everybody. Myself Sandhya Radiboy. By profession I am in Odisha Finance Service. I do write short stories. Also I have translated some articles which have already been published. Of course my writing is not a continuous process, but I am a lover of literature. And fortunately I am wife of Mr. Vasudev Sunani. And in the Chandrabhaga festival it gave a chance to come to this place with my family, my sons. I am really grateful to Chandrabhaga for giving us such a very good chance, and thank you.
Good morning everybody. Myself Karthik Barik. My identity is not so high, but professionally as a refrigeration air conditioning engineer, my favorite I like to write poems, and basically I am known as a lyricist. That's all.
Good morning, my name is Chandrabhanu Patnaik from Institute of Knowledge Societies and Centurion University. I'm happy that all of you are here. Welcome on behalf of the university, on behalf of the institute. Thank you.
Good morning everybody. I am Ambika Shankar Misra. I am Assistant Professor, Institute of Knowledge Society. And though rarely, but I write sometimes in Oriya newspapers and magazines. I have few stories I have written there. Thank you.
Namaskar. I am Sar Chandra Patra, working as a primary teacher under Navarampur block.
Dr. Bhante and friends, you have chosen the most unsuitable person to inaugurate this conference. I am neither a poet, I only read poetry which I like. Therefore I cannot say that I am a reader of poetry. I only read such poets and poetry which I like. Therefore, what I say may not be quite befitting to this seminar, but nevertheless I would like to make some comments about things related to this seminar. My first comment is about English, because I am a linguist. English is no longer the language of England. At one time, scholars were speaking of the English language, with southern district pronunciation as the standard. Today the same scholars are speaking of the Englishes of the world, of which one variety is Indian English. English is a colonial importation into India. The language has survived and prevailed in indigenous artistry. This is what Murli Sivaramakrishnan says. M.K. Nayak had said, speaks of an eventful encounter in the late 18th century between a vigorous and enterprising Britain and a stagnant and chaotic India. I don't want to get into the argument whether India was stagnant and chaotic or not. But what is more interesting is Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru in his autobiography says, I cannot get rid of that past inheritance or my recent acquisitions. This dichotomous approach towards English has been all through Indian writing, you can see. And Rajarao said, one has to convey in a language that is not one's own, the spirit that is one's own. So, without getting into the intricacies of this encounter, I would like to make some comments about the multiplicity of Indian situation. India is a multilingual, multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious country. It has 3,000 mother tongues, 4,000 castes and communities, 4,000 religious faiths and beliefs, and like this you can list all the kinds of birds, beasts and the kinds of situations that exist in India. But what is surprising is this aspect has somehow escaped the attention of Indian writers, if you go through the whole thing. In a pluralistic country, relationships are complementary. This is a very important thing to remember. When this complementary relationship is hierarchized, conflicts ensue. Because all elements in a complementary, in a multilingual, multicultural country, they are complementary in relation. When that complementary relationship is hierarchized, then only conflict ensues. And the greatest harm English did to this country is that it denounced Indian languages as not being languages of knowledge and not being languages of development. And English claimed its superiority and was accepted as such by Indians. We cannot blame the English for this. We accepted the situation also. If the Indian languages and English worked together, we would have not only created new poetics, but also working in conjunction with the third world, which is multicultural and multi-ethnic, would have shown newer ways to the world. In the literary field, we could have created newer dimensions. Then I have to make some comments about modernity, because we are talking about modern writings in English. To me, modernity is not a time-bound concept, like contemporaneity. Contemporaneity refers to a limited present time. Modernity is a knowledge-bound cultural consciousness of the modern mind. Therefore, it is deeper and much more spread than contemporaneity. You see, modernity came to, somehow I find that in Indian literary history, people who talk about modernity began only in poetry. There is very little discussion about modernity in prose. But when we call the different eras in Odia literature, we call it Sarla, who started the Purani case. Then after that Panchasakha, those who wrote different kinds of poetic writings. Then you come to Upendra Bhanja, who did another kind of challenge Sanskrit. He says whatever can be done in Sanskrit can also be done in Odia. Then after that, all these people who came, Radhanath, began the modern era. Also, so poetry has been the standard bearer of modernity. Whenever we come to discuss about modernity, we start with poetry. And it is very interesting that after we came to modernity, then people came into difficulty. What is to be done after modern? Adhunik, modern. Then Atyadhunik, more modern. Then what? Adhunikottara, after modernity. Then what? Then there is nothing. You have to find out names because we are following the English tradition. We are now lost wherever we are. But between modernity and post-modernity, there are so many isms like Impressionism, Imagism, Expressionism, Cubism, Futurism, Surrealism, Dadaism, and so many isms are there. But they haven't very little, according to me, impression on Odia at least, Odia poetry. If one goes on searching for all these isms, one will be lost. Maybe one or two persons might have tried, but I don't think in the literary history there is a place for that. It is not very important. I have to make one or two points about poetry. Because poetry, in the discussion of poetry, there is very seldom that, I am not speaking of English poetry, I am speaking of poetry in Indian languages. That poetry, very seldom language has been taken into consideration. Mallarmé had said, poetry is not of ideas, but of words. But I don't think we have taken very seriously this aspect of the thing. Of course, Upendra Bhanja had said that I have crossed the ocean of lexicality. So, sabda, these words, ocean of words. But that is a different kind of consciousness than what consciousness about words is referred to by Mallarmé. Defining what is good poetry, it's one gentleman, William Radice, is a translator. He says, the poetry that is good tells us neither more nor less than it should. So which means poetry is not just anything you put together, it becomes poetry. Therefore, I think it is very important that we give some attention to the language aspect of poetry, because this is very, very important in any study of poetry. And as I told you, we have a little discussion about poetry and prose writings of the time. Now, in Indian literary writings, in English, people have already listed there are more important papers which are going to be presented. But I want to point out only one point, that Ramanujan was my friend, he was my colleague. We worked together for quite some time. I think he represents one kind of poetry writing, discussion, his insight into folklore, into literature, his translations and his literary writings, everything put together, he comes in a different category altogether. Among all the writers who have come, who can be classified into different groups and phases, the one last name I would like to mention is Jayant Mahapatra, because he probably represents, I quote, on the harbinger of the most fecund, holistic and integral phase of Indian writing, because the two contrary modes of Indian writing, one is the colonial and the other is the post-colonial. All these conflicts and controversies are vanished. They have vanished in his writing. It has, people have said that we do not know whether he writes in the language of Yeats or he writes in his own language. Whether he writes, but in his writing, everything Indian, everything Odishan is reflected. Therefore, he comes into a separate category, and among all the writers of Odisha and India, he stands in a distinct, he occupies a distinct position. And I think in any discussion about the controversies and our achievements, he stands in the forefront of all of Indian writing in English. Thank you. Now, Mr. Rajkumar will read the paper of Sachidanandan.
The title of K. Sachidanand's paper is Negotiating Heterogeneity, Indian Poetry After Independence. At the beginning of his essay, Professor Sachidanandan starts by saying that this essay is but an incomplete attempt to take stock of Indian poetry after independence, because it is not possible for any writer to make a survey of entire Indian poetry after independence in a very short paper. Not possible also to name all poets who have contributed to, and then that he just goes on by saying, while independence was greeted by several poets with celebrity odes, quite a few considered it a false dawn, either because they felt like Nazrul Islam, that the Swaraj did not bring anything for the hungry child, or because it was a flaw and fissure freedom, since the gift was a divided India. Gajanan Madhav Muktibodh, a pioneer of the new poetry, Nai Kavita in Hindi, declared in 1953 that the face of the modern is crook, and the hegemonic political formation was a wooden Ravana. Kedarnath Singh spoke of the Anagat, the one who had not yet arrived, whose wings were lost in the golden shadows and feet were trembling in the mist. A catastrophic vision like that of W.B. Yeats in The Second Coming seemed to penetrate in literature, for the best appeared to lack all conviction, and the worst were full of passionate intensity. Vishnu De, the Bengali poet, expressed his concern for the death of the village, the rude aggression on nature, and the thoughtless urbanization that seemed to disturb the harmony of life. And there is a quotation by Vishnu De, how long do we roam about carrying our tents? When does the alliance set up his own house? These similarities of impulse and formal experimentation notwithstanding, modernism emerged under different circumstances in different languages. Even its names differ. It was Nai Kavita. There were other movements too, like Akavita in Hindi, Adhunik Kavita in Bengali and Malayalam, Navya in Kannada, and Puthu Kavita in Tamil, though all these mean the new or modern poetry. The idioms and approaches often differ from language to language, and even ideologically it was no monolithic. I'll be skipping that many of the names that he has written. By 1965 to 70, Indian writers in different languages had already produced a body of poetry that strove to capture the multi-layerness of Indian life with its uneasy coexistence of different time worlds, of the national and spiritual, of the real and surreal, in their startling images, syncopated rhythms, employment of novel patterns, dreamlike mixing and substitution of time and space, unexpected leaps of thoughts and fancy, transgression of established norms of decency and propriety, odd combinatorial plays of the folk and the classic, indigenous and exotic elements, remappings of Indian mythology in the fresh context of life and language, forays into legend and archetypes and conscious use of everyday language. And then he goes on to give the example of very many languages who are the poets, and I'm skipping it. From the 1970s onwards, the democratic tradition of Indian poetry, of which the poetry of Bhakti Sufi movements of the freedom struggle and the progressive are earlier examples, had flowered like never before with the emergence of several so far marginalized sections of the society getting empowered by democracy. This poetry has emerged from a series of transversal struggles that have been raising the issues of decentralization, right to cultural differences, caste and gender power, ecological balance, the rights of the tribals to land, language and culture, and sought to fight the intrusion of the market in everyday life, the consequent reduction of liberty to mere consumer choice, the forced standardization of culture sought by capitalist and communal forces, the valorization of competition, suppression of autonomy, the subtle imperialism of the unipolar world in the wake of globalization, and the cultural amnesia imposed on the Indian people with their glorious intellectual and artistic tradition and their unique way of knowing and responding to the world. The individualistic tendencies of some of the modernists began to be interrogated as new collective identities got force, and a new literature of opposition and aesthetic of resistance began to evolve in almost all the languages of India in the 1970s. Then giving example of very specific new poetry, that he talks about the community of women and says another imagined community is that of the women poets of whom have emerged with strong feminist inclination in the last 3 decades in several Indian languages. Though India has a tradition of women's poetry extending from the Buddhist nuns of the 6th century BC through the poets of the Bhakti like Akka Mahadevi, Mirabai, Andal or Lalde to poets of the last generation like Mahadevi Burma and Balamani Amma, a poetry consciously committed to the cause of women's emancipation, taking gender as the organizing principle of experience and body as central to their language, is a rather new phenomenon. It can be said to have begun with poets like Kavita Sinha, Navanita Debsen, Amrita Pritam and Kamala Das, and has now several spokeswomen, including Sabita Singh. I'm skipping most of the examples where he goes on to say that the recent Dalit women poet like Meena Kandaswamy and others. Now the specificity is another Dalit poetry. Dalit poetry has been mainstream in Kannada, Marathi and Gujarati and has emerged strongly in Punjabi, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu and Malayalam. Odia is of course not mentioned, but we have Vasudev Sunani as an example. Ecologies with thumbs, these are some of the collection that he refers to, how new Dalit writing is trying to take different symbols, metaphor as new expression. And then he says, it is no more a mere expression of the despair and indignation of Dalit communities who had been relegated to the bottom of the caste hierarchy for over 30 centuries, but an assertion of Dalit values and of the community's rightful claim to all the privileges democracy gives its people. And he goes on to give the example of Dalit painters, poet like Namdev Dhasal, and then Daya Pawar, and then from Gujarat, of course, Gajanan, and several others. Hindi, Om Prakash Valmiki, Surajpal Chauhan, Rajni Tilak, and others. I'll just skip it. Along with the Dalits, the tribal communities of India have also woken up and begun to claim their rights for land and life and retract their history from amnesia. They have realized that they were the first poets, the first philosopher, the first cosmologist, the first peasants, the first myth maker, and the first artist and scientist. The Vedas, the Upanishads, and the epics were created by the ancient tribes. Human history has also been the history of their marginalization and alienation from the so-called mainstream. And some of the tribal, meaning non-tribal poets are Anil Bodo, Ramdayal Munda, Nirmala Putul, Mamang Dai, Paul Lingo, Khyam Nongi, Robin Nagam. These are some of the poets actually we have already introduced in Delhi University syllabus, and our students are at least familiar with. Towards the end, there are, in between of course, he talks about new nativism, which I am skipping altogether, which is again another experiment in Indian poetry after independence. And then towards the end, before the conclusion, he talks about new form of Indian poetry. The new media have enlarged the scope of poetry in many ways. There are several online journals devoted to poetry, while thousands of poets in English as well as the languages have their own blogs or website. Through the absence of editing and criticism seems to be the bane of a lot of blog poetry. New possibilities like multimedia poetry and hyperlink poetry are being tried in languages like Malayalam. Performance poetry is also being tried by many poets, Jeet Thayil being a positive example from English. On the whole, one can say this is a time of the democratization of poetry in India, as elsewhere, with all the hopes and issues the process entails. And now the conclusion. One way of looking at the phases of Indian poetry after independence is to see them as a series of attempts to grapple with the post-colonial situation. Paradigms are tried and given up, communities are imagined and dissolved, traditions are constructed and deconstructed, the principle of unity and differences are alternately appealed to, the West's presence is acknowledged and refuted. Radical European concepts and models are alternated with a return to indigenous roots, the classical and folk elements of the heritage, what A.K. Ramanujam, whom Dr. Patnaik referred to, calls the great tradition and the little tradition, are explored by turns. Even the current scene is agog with the dialectic of decolonization. Our creativity has thus been dialogic as it benefits the argumentative Indian, and our literary discourse marked by the negotiation of a necessary heterogeneity by a conception of identity that lives through difference and hybridity, a continuous negotiation between the self and the other, using, to employ a Foucauldian concept, different technology of the self. Thank you.
Readings of poems in Indian languages with translation. In English comments, by discussion, one is Pavitra Das, the other is Dinabandhu Sahu. May I now request Pavitra Das to...
Honorable Dr. Devi Prasanna Patnaik, Dr. Manoranjan Mahanti, and Dr. Rajkumar. I thank Mr. Rajkumar for presenting a fine prose work by K. Sachidanandan on Indian writing in English. And while listening his presentation, 2 to 3 questions were in my mind. First of those is there something which can be called as Indianness in poetry? Actually, K. Sachidanandan has tried hard to touch all the domains and ranges of Indian writing. Still, one question that hurts me: has Indianness in poetry been defined properly, not only by K. Sachidanandan, but also by critics of all times? Okay, my question is, has Indianness been defined properly, not only in this essay particularly, but also in many essays written since or writing in English? My second doubt, I may say, while defining Indianness, we have considered poetry composed by elite class. Though there are mentions of tribal writing, Dalit writing and others. But can we consider the folk tradition of our poetry? As an Odia, I would like to say, the poet who composes lyrics for Danda dance, the poet who writes script for Palla, and similarly thousands of poets who compose different forms of poetry for different forms of performances. We haven't considered them as poets or as makers of Indianness in poetry. So I mentioned we because I am also a part of this system. Mr. Sachidanandan is not here. Our elder brother and eminent writer Rajkumar is here, and Sir Manoranjan Mahanti, Dr. Patnaik, all are here. These things can be taken as my questions, and if possible, those things can be a part of this discourse. Okay. Thanks. I am going to present 2 of my poems, first in Odia, then translation in English. मोर प्रथम कवितार शीर्षक दर्शक। मंचस्थ हेउछि महान सामाजिक नाटक, तेणु प्रमुख चरित्रगण घोर असामाजिक। मंचस्थ हेउछि महान सामाजिक नाटक, तेणु प्रमुख चरित्रगण घोर असामाजिक। बाकी चरित्र मामूली छार, सेमानंक परिचय को गुली मार। बीती जाउछि दृश्य पर दृश्य, अभिनय मुग्ध आमे जे जहा स्थाने सुरक्षित। जहा फुटिला ताहा बोमा नुहे, बाण ताली मार। जा पेटरे छुरी पशिछि से आमर भाई नु, कान बंद कर। वस्त्रहरण होउछि जार से झिया अपेरार। टिहा उस्का पारुछ तो गड़ा लाल। जहाँ जहाँ जली जाउछि जली जीवार थिला, कान बंद आखि बंद कर। एबे मंत्रणा दृश्य, मंच अंधार, शुभुछि केवल आदेश चापा गला मानंकर। भुकिबाकु चेष्टित कुकुर मुहरे पकाजिब रोटी, टीपचिह्न नियाजिब मुर्दारर। अमेरुदंडी पंडिते लभिबे पाट जथा, बधिर भाटंकु दियाजिब डाकबाजी यंत्र उपहार। ए विशेष दृश्य मान आमको दृश्य हम ना आम आड़ को मुह रहा फ्लड लाइट रो चौकी आवरी आउ क्या चुप बसवा भाई माने चौकी आवरी आउ क्या चुप बसवा भाई माने उठ आमे तो चरित्र पलटि सारी नाटक इट्स इंग्लिश वर्जन translated by Shiv Kumar Das. Spectator. Being staged is this great social play. Characters, key ones, therefore antisocial. Being staged is this great social play. Characters, key ones, therefore antisocials. The rest rest unnoticed. Their identities why not forget. Since passion, secure in our own seat, enthralled we are. Blast. It's not bomb, a cracker. Crack a clap. The knife was pierced, but heart is not of your brother. Plug your ear. The girl when defiled is a hired hand. Whistle, teach, titillate, if possible, wag your canine tongue. The arson had to happen, turn a blind eye. Next, the conspiracy scene, lights off, sounds on of sinister hisses. Dogs about to bark would have their bones. Corpses will also have their thumb impressions. Invertebrate brains will get their decor. Deaf sycophants would have their loudspeaker. Those scenes would be out of sight. Dazzled we be by the floodlight. Those scenes would be out of sight. Dazzled we be by floodlight. Dumbfound why we sit anymore. Dumbfound why we sit anymore. Haven't we become the play and its actor? Thanks. My second poem, first in Odia, Sabdottara. जगी बसी शब्दों गतिपथ चुप ध्यानस्थ शब्द माने बाण हो फुटिले मंचरे प्रतिश्रुति रूपे चहटिले इस्ताहार मलिन पृष्ठरे शब्द माने गणभोग्य हो चढ़िले खबर कागजर रंगीन फर्दरे विज्ञापनी संगीत हेलाणी मॉडेल को अंग चलन शब्द माने झांझ हो बाजिलाणी प्रशांत ध्यान मंदिर रे विभूति पालटि झरिले प्रभु मानक प्रवचन रे शब्द माने तेल हो इड़िले आलोचन रे शीतल शिथिल हो विश्राम नेले बहिर पृष्ठ शब्द माने मण हो पोषा मानिले घोषकों यांत्रिक कंठरे हतबाक निशब्द मूक दर्शकों नीलठा तालीमाण शब्द माने मु केमंते जीवन्यास देवई तुमको केमंते बा पहुंची तुम से पारे Then it's English version made by Durga Prasad Panda. Beyond words, sitting still and silent by the highway of words, sitting still and silent by the highway of words, I observe words turn into firecrackers and blow themselves up on the stage. Words turn into tall promises, then shrink inside the faded pages of the party manifesto. Words turn themselves into objects of men's lust and rot inside the glossy, 'glossy, 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 ' Words turn into melodious jingles and guided in tune with the half-clad nymphs. Words turn into sacred ashes and fall like sermons from the godmen's lips. Words turn sterile and lie adjusted inside the obscure books. Words have been tamed in the babble of utterances and curl inside the false clapping of baffled audience. Dead words? Dead words? How could I possibly inject life into you? Dead words? How could I possibly inject life into you? How I could jump over your corpse to reach the other side of the meaning? Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Respected Dr. Manoranjan Mohanty and Dr. Devi Prasad Patnaik, Professor Rajkumar, and all the dignitaries. It's really a privilege on my part to be here among all of you. I cannot say much about the contemporary scenario, and rather I will tell few words. I honestly appreciate the paper by K. Sachidanandan as presented by Professor Rajkumar. I would like to say, at the very moment, each and every poet should go with the reality. They should feel the common man's problem, and they should utter the common people's voice. There are still many areas to be taken care of. There are so many poets. I support my senior friend, Poet Pavitra, what he has told. There are so many writers. They have devoted their life in the field of creativity, and they are still in darkness. They should be honored, their talent should be honored, and they must be highlighted. And they should be brought to the limelight, and each and every writing of a poet, what I feel, should give a message to the society. It should be, they will be only live long only when they will be able to transmit the common people's problem, and there will be a solution, or there will be guiding message, there will be communicating thought to different layer of people present in the society. Now I will read two of my poems, first in Odia and English. Both of my poems, they are translated by one of my senior friends, lecturer Satya Patnaik, English lecturer. My first poem is Ahuri Aneka Agaru. Ahuri Aneka Agaru. Ahuri Aneka Agaru ଅଜାଡ଼ି ଦେବାର ଥିଲା ନିଜକୁ, ବିଷାଦରେ ଶୁଖିବା ଆଗରୁ ଏକଇ ନଈ, ଧୂମ୍ର ଧୂସର ମରୁଭୂମିର। ଘନ ଘନ ଆକାଶ ଚିରା ବିଜୁଳି ଚୋଟରେ ବି ନ ବର୍ଷିବା ଆଗରୁ ଅପେକ୍ଷିତ ବାଦଲ, ବିକଳରେ ଫାଟିବା ଆଗରୁ ମାଟି। ଆହୁରି ଅନେକ ଆଗରୁ ଯାଚି ଦେବାର ଥିଲା ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା, ସୂକ୍ଷ୍ମ ସରୁ ହସଧାରକ ଲିଭିବା ଆଗରୁ ଥର ଥର ओठरू पाश कृशरे झुलिबा आगरू उलंग शरीर भांगिबा आगरू शेषतम काच काच स्वप्न करुणरू करुणतम दिशिबा आगरू स्वप्नीय चाहणी हाँ 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 आहरी अनेक आगरू बिंचिबार थिला भुरु भुरु सुबास बीज मिली द्विपत्र हेबा आगरू अंकुर तोड़िबार थिला राग संगीतर निनाद सुर ताल लयर संगमरे नृत्यरत पादर धार धार झरिबा आगरू लहू सारा मंच छम छम फिटी पड़िबा आगरू गोटी गोटी घर्माक्त घुंगुर आहरी अनेक आगरू आंकिबार थिला इंद्रधनु पुच्छ नतली मृण्मयी पालटिबा आगरू मयूरी आहरी अनेक आगरू जगाइबार थिला प्रत्यय जाली देबार थिला अखंड दीप जाली देबार थिला अखंड दीप नीरवरे नई आसीबा आगरू मुह अंधारी संज चिन्हा मुह हेबा आगरू अचिन्हा. Now the English translation. Ahead of time. Before the earth cracked in dejection, before the expected cloud burst in rains, being stung by roaring lightning, before the river dried up in melancholy, before the desert dusts desolate, I could have submitted myself. Well ahead of time, I could have offered my prayer, subtle smiles of quivering lips, naked body before being hanged in cross, glass-like fragile dreams before being broken, dreamy eyes before being cancerous. I could have submitted myself. Yes, ahead of time could have sprinkled aromatic fragrance before the sprouted seeds being lit. Entire floor of dance could have raised up the melodious sounds in composition of tunes, rhythms, and lyrics before dancing feet being bled up. Sweat of musical anklet being scattered. Ahead of time, well before I could have drawn the rainbow, could have lifted up the credence before the peacock turned terrestrial, could have lit up the unhindered light before the dark evening fall down silently, before familiar face become unfamiliar. Thank you. My second poem is Choukira Antarale. किए से माने मिलीमिशी पारिदेले तांको पिठी अंटा पेट काटी गढ़ीदेले समतल मेद मांस रक्त स्वेदर चटाण जोठी निर्विघ्न रे उधेइची चक चक चौकीटी महामहिमंकर काहाकु नहीं गढ़ी हेले गोसेई काहाकु नहीं गढ़ी हेले गोसेई प्रभुपण भुंजिले पुरुष पुरुष आखिरे भरी देई लुह ओटारी आनिले स्वप्न दिशिबाकू संभ्रांत सरस आखि देखुची हाथ गणती चारिटी गोड़ मंच उपर चौकीर अथच अदृश्य अनेक गुप्त अभिसंधि बजाय रखिबे बोली एकमत सबुकाल विपन्न चौकीर स्थिति और स्थायित्व सेमाने सबु कहा हाथ गोड़ सेमाने सबु कहा हाथ गोड़ किए कहब काहेकि कहा चक्रांतरे नीति प्रति कहा घूर्णी रे घूरी सेमाने बरिनेले तम प्रभुत्व खुशी रे ना बाध्यबाधकतारे सम्मति देले केबे भी खोलिबेनी तुंड मृत की जीवित क्षत की अक्षत राजी अराजी रे जुगपथ मुंड नुआई सही नेबे स्वेच्छाचार थाउ न थाउ स्वीकृति तम आसन शासन मुंड मुकुट रहिब नित्य निरंकुश सदा सुरक्षित। किए सेमाने सती की एकाधार रे अंध मुक बधिर पणबंदी तम कूट कलापर। Now the English version. Hidden power corridor. Who are they? Rendering entire body mass, shouldering each other's pain at the cost of starve and hunger, blending their fat, blood, flesh and sweat, built a glossy corridor where the king's throne, empowered, affirmed its foothold strong. By whose sacrifice and subsidy, O Gosain, you built up, enjoyed royal patronage as legacy, passed down generation to generation. In exchange you gifted full of tears to the eyes, seized the dreams of the subjects, only to remain regal in kingly attire. Subjects become strange onlookers now, who counts only 4 legs of the chair on the stage. That is apparently visible meaningless, rest concealed from his sight imperceptible, the secret conspiracy always at its front, appalling the very status and actuality of chair always. Whose hands and feet they are? Who can say? Who can say whose conspiracy whirl them all around day night? Who knows whether in compulsion or joy they bear your lordship? With your slightest approval, they keep mum, never be vocal. Dead or alive, wounded or unhurt, agreed or disagreed, never make you feel. Bow down and bear your absolutism. May you approve or not, absolutely keeping safe your throne and crown. Who are they? Who are they? Simultaneously blind, deaf and dumb, or pony of your chessboard? Who are they? Who are they? Thank you.
Now it is open for discussion and answering the question that was raised by the first presenter. Please, anyone wants to start the discussion? Take the mic.
Hi. I'm Dr. Basudev Sunani. As regards what Pavitra told regarding the folk artists, I mean those who are composing the write-up for the Pala and also for Daskatia and Dandanacho. I think there are a lot of things which has been undermined by our intellectual, our so-called academician, you may say, and so many writers even also, essayists, all that. Most of the this kind of writers, I mean the folk artists and some of the Spala writers, in tribal and particularly in Dalit culture, I have written in my book. It's mine. I perceive in the way is that Git Kudia is a particular some of the people in many of the social festivals like marriage and if somebody has died in the Sagar, they used to come and they narrate the entire history, entire worshipping procedures, all that activities. They have been doing it. Nobody actually assigned these activities for those persons. They are told as Git Kodia. And especially in Dom community and Ghana community, Birtia is there. And I consider myself, they are the person who are the really running encyclopedia of the literature of that particular community. And in the similar manner, if we go to the cultural part of the tribe, Parghania is one of the community, some of the people who usually narrates all the historical evolution of their society through in a poetic versions. And particularly in Gauda community, now they are being termed as the OBC. Some Parghania, Birtia and Ghogia, one Ghogia community is there. They do the similar thing. What the Parghania, what the Birtia and what the this Ghogia, they do the similar thing. I hope maybe in the long past, this kind of activity, what we are doing, it was the property of some of the people, some of the so-called intellectual people during that period. And these people, they don't have any access over this literary activity. That is why maybe they might have adopted this kind of procedure and they are just passing to their generations through this folk tale, folk songs, but they are not at all, they have not been given any due identity or any kind of, any sorts of some respect, or they have not been recognized in any form. Even today, what about the past intellectual? Today's literate, educated people of their community even today, their community people are also not recognizing them. So I hope it should be come to a discourse and it should be elaborated and a lot of things should be documented about those community people. So this is my understanding. Thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else? Somebody to answer the question.
That he will. That he will.
Okay, then when is your?
There are basically two questions raised by Pavitra Das. Very, very important question for all of us to consider. I'll just briefly try to make a little, attempt, not, because these are the basic questions. And from a viewpoint whereby, that we as academic, basically, I'm not a poet, but from the academic point of view. The first question he raised is, if there is need or even there is Indianness in poetry, what is the need of Indianness in poetry? That is the first question. Right. So there is a nice article by Meenakshi Mukherjee titled "Anxiety Being an Indian," whereby she tries to say that the idea of Indianness raises questions to those writers and poets, not necessarily poets, but writers, those who are Indian, but they are living abroad, outside, because they will try to articulate the idea of India from different points of view, cultural, political, economy, and linguistic, and several, but their attempt is to make how much in their writing India has to, that come out. So, say writers like, you can talk about any, at least Indian writers. She talks about Indian writing in English by saying that, say, if you are talking about, say, Salma does this, or Anita Desai, then their writing will try to make an attempt to define what is India. And there, of course, that the Indianness will be taken care of. But that is less in the case of Indian writers like, say, Anantamurthy or, any writers of even Odia origin, because they necessarily think that whatever they are writing, as Jayant Mahapatra has already pointed out, the idea Chandravagha. He need not define where is Chandravagha, what is it. It represents, that certain metaphor, symbolism, as Professor Manoranjan Mahanti has also talked about. So, no need to articulate a concern about defining India. So, there is anxiety. But then, Meenakshi Mukherjee also talks about there are two writers, and one is Amitabh Ghosh, particularly Shadow Lines, whereby she talks about, in Shadow Line, if you have read, then it is not about a geographical territory called India. While talking about Shadow Lines, it basically talks about partition, but then it is just about, meaning if you understand the idea of shadow lines, that the nation cannot be made, that along with the boundary line. People from Bangladesh have the same food, same culture, same language, than the people of, they're just next, which is called India. So, that's why shadow lines. You can't compel a nation to be lived in a geographical identity or territory or map or, whatever suppose. So this is where, that the anxiety comes. So hope, that I have tried to attempt answering your question by saying that people, those who are writing, maybe, that Odia, meaning they need not talk about this is Odisha we are talking about, or Indian writers and poets, they need not talk about this is India we are talking about. The second is, your question was about the poets by the elite class basically, and whether the folk song can be considered as poem. See, again, from an academic point of view, Shelley, P.B. Shelley, a romantic poet, talks about his theory of poetry, and there are, of course, that hundreds and thousands of definitions of poetry. Shelley talks that everyone is a poet. We all are poets, whether I write poems or not, but everyone is a poet because poem is in mind. One need not write black and white. The moment I think, it is a poem. Now the second question comes, so anyone who is a folk artist or a, that singer or even Daskatiya, Pala is a poet. Whether folk or, that otherwise. Now the second question is that the moment we start writing poem, then it enters into the public sphere. That is very important question, and the idea of modernity. If at all we have to refer to, say, Jayant Mahapatra, I'm just giving you one example, then I can't refer to his poem which is not written. I can memorize. But in the memory, that something will be lost. So that's why the power of writing, power of word. Right? The second is, that once you write down, so that's why I'm talking about the difference between oral tradition and written tradition, whereby, that the folk, the Asketia and all, and the, that the idea of writing comes. And then entering into public sphere, that is also part of my, actually, that article whereby I would say that the idea of, say, what Professor Sachidanandan has talked about over the years, he talks about post-independence. So he talks about, that not just elite poets, as you have very rightly said, also, that women, also tribal, also Dalit, also nativist. But then the whole idea here is to address the idea of the poets. So one need not just talk about the idea of elitist, because, for example, that we are celebrating in one of the sessions Dalit poems. So that is where, that perhaps these two, the questions come into front to front. Thank you.
You have to say something now? I have one or two comments. The first comment is about Indianness. I will tell you a story. What happened to when I was a child. When people asked me, where are you from? I would say, I am from such and such a village. Where is that village? I say, such and such district. Where is that district? It is in Odisha. When I am outside Odisha, people said, who are you? Where are you from? I said, I am from Odisha. When I went out, people said, where are you from? I said, I am from India. Now, during my lifetime, all these has broken down. Now people have become world citizens, global beings. They have no address. If you ask that global man, what is your address? He has no address. He has no place, no village, no identity. The identity that we had built, we started from oneself, going through family, going through community, going through geographical area, and reaching out to the universe is now being reversed. It has completely broken down. People have become absolutely nameless and addressless. Therefore, to ask a question whether there is Indianness or not appears to me to be an irrelevant question. That is because I have told it in different ways, I have explained it, but I am not going into it, just I am mentioning it, that there is no global without local, and there is no local without global. If that is the case, then this question has its own answer in itself. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that apart from this local and global, I think in this process, what has happened, again I'll give you another story. I lived in a joint family. Then we had an extended family. Extended family means what? My sister was Sambhata to a Brahmin family girl, so we had vivara between the two. We gave, that is the Surya Vamsa. This is extended family. Everything has broken down. The extended family has broken down. The joint family has broken down. The nuclear family has broken down. Now even father, mother and children have gone. Father, mother have separated. During my lifetime, all this has happened. But there is no concern about any of these things in people who are writing. I am talking about mostly about prose. I don't want to talk anything about poetry because I don't know how far. I have not sufficiently well read about the totality of the poetry in Odia or anything, but there is very little concern about these kinds of situations, changes in the society, in our literature. People think that they are not probably important enough to be talked about. I think that it is high time that we give some thought to these things. So that is why, in that context, this question that was asked, whether there is Indianness and whether it has been defined, assumes meaning. I would end up by saying, giving you one thing about mother tongue and motherland. Has anybody defined a motherland? Has anybody defined a mother tongue? Motherland is a very interesting situation. I was walking on the roads of New York with a Russian hat on, and suddenly I saw from behind a very hefty man caught hold of me from behind. I looked back, he's a very hefty man standing. I said, what's the matter? He said, where did you buy this cap from? I said, where did I buy this? I bought it from Moscow. He said, did you go to Moscow? I said, no. One of my friends had been to Moscow. I had asked him to bring a hat, he brought it. He started crying. I was worried. Why did he cry? He said, this is made in my village. So I said, in your village? When were you in your village? He said, for 4 generations, I have not visited Soviet Union. We have been in America. But still he remembers his village, the cap that is made in his village, and that is the motherland. That is the concept of motherland. And about this, I'll give you 4 lines from D.L. Roy. D.L. Roy wrote, Dhanadhanya pushpe bhara, আমাদের এই বসুন্ধরা, তাহার মাঝে আছে দেশে সকল দেশের চারা। ধনধান্য পুষ্পে ভরা, আমাদের এই বসুন্ধরা, তাহার মাঝে আছে দেশে সকল দেশের সেরা। তারপরে সকল দেশের রানী যে আমার জন্মভূমি। ভূগোল, in the geography books or in anywhere, you won't find such a country being mentioned. But she is the queen of all lands, my motherland. So that's what it is. It is স্মৃতি দিয়ে তৈরি সেজে স্বপ্ন দিয়ে তৈরি সেজে স্মৃতি দিয়ে যারা. It is made up of dreams and sorted in memory. That is what the motherland is. Therefore, when you talk about Indianness, you have to look at a larger perspective and see whether it is Indianness or global. What are the elements? I think that kind of inquiry may not be very meaningful. Thank you.
We thank our chairperson, we thank Professor Rajkumar, and we will convey our thanks to Professor K. Sachidanandan. And thank you all, Pavitra Babu and Dinavatu. Thank you all very much. We have 10 minutes tea break and we are already late for the next session. Please come back.